Hey Carl, what's going on, dude? How's it
Mike, how you
going?
doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing great.
Okay, we got all that stuff good. So did you do any hunting or fishing this past weekend?
Fishing. I don't hunting takes me away from fishing.
So your priority is the fishing side.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. I was just because why did I assume maybe because I saw you in your camo gear, I assumed you were hunting then, but you uh
That's for
primarily just a
fishing.
fisherman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I like to fish for wild trout and they're pretty spooky.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
So
trying, yeah.
you're in ninja mode then.
Well, I mean, as ninja as a fat older guy can be. True story.
Oh man.
But
So
you
good
have to
seeing you
understand,
again.
my goal is not to fall down when I'm
Oh.
when I'm fishing. It's not to fall in and bash my knees. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so do you catch any good fish this weekend?
No, it was different because I've been kind of in a funk spiritually for about a year and a half. Like
Really?
just really struggling and like prayer life has been awful, right? And basically I because I came to faith later in life through a BNI group, through a
Yep.
referral group. And so I never have connected with church Christianity,
Mm. Hmm.
right? And every time I do, I default into this facsimile of who I am, right? And I've one of the first books I read that really spoke to me was John Eldredge Wild at Heart. Like it was I don't know if
Yep.
you've read that book, but it was a game
Yeah.
changer. I kind of moved away from it because I had gotten really excited. My dad was not a Christian, and I shared the book with dad and was like, "Hey, dad, this book is like why I feel like I became a Christian because of how you love me. You love me like this, like God loves people in this book." It
Hmm.
didn't work. Dad died, an unbeliever. I was holding his hand. It was awful, right?
Oh man.
And so, like, I've been, like, I really have been in a funk ever since my dad died.
Okay.
Just and like everybody's like, well, my God's in charge. You don't know that he wasn't saved. I'm like, actually, I have a great degree of confidence because of the conversation that he wasn't. I would love nothing better, but I don't live the platitude life. I've got a severely disabled kid. Platitudes just offend me, right? They just don't work. I don't often react to them. I just kind of like, okay, whatever. But so, anyways, long story short, Eldridge just came out with cinema quality videos about Wild at Heart
Oh wow.
on YouTube, on YouTube,
Mm.
and they're amazing. He had thought about having them on Netflix. That's how good they were. And so I've known about them for about a month, Carl. And I watched it for a little bit. Oh, I got to do something else, right? And so finally, I was so frustrated with my, sin life and everything. I was, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch a prologue. And it was freaking beautiful. It was John Eldridge. Fly fishing was kind of the theme. At the
Mhm.
end of it, he's like, I realize that every time I go fly fishing, I'm looking for my dad and I never find him.
Oh wow, that put the hair on the back of my neck.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and then the first episode is this dude from Wales who's a world famous artist doing stuff I've never seen before. He basically etches on cowhide, big skins, and creates these. I've never like I grew up in Washington, D.C., DuPont Circle, Georgetown galleries. My dad used to frame for the National Gallery of Art. Like so, like I've been to Rodin, I've been to all the stuff, right? It's not that I dislike local art, it's got to be art. But anyways, that stuff reconnected me. And so the whole way down to go fishing, it's about an hour drive to where I wanted to go fish because I have a less chance of falling at that place because it's flatter. I mean, I have to wear knee pads, Carl. It's pitiful. And so, like, because I've got bad knees as a paratrooper. So, anyways, whole way down, I'm listening to a podcast that Eldridge is doing about the prologue, about the first episode. And I'm like, and this one guy, Mark, that first episode is like, he goes, every time I tried to do it, I was the first guy at church, the last guy to leave. I tried to fit in the box and I don't fit in the box. And then I realized God isn't in the box. God is wild and God, like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and I was like, oh, I mean, I really, it was a great experience. It was great. I only caught two fish, but I really was kind of meditating as opposed to
Mhm,
really fishing, and which is
mhm,
fundamentally what I'm looking for. So, anyways,
mhm.
that's what's going on. And so that's why I sent you that audio clip because this podcast is a really, if it works well, a really subtle and really sneaky call to faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Luke 10 is Christ's marketing plan, right?
Yeah.
Send the two out, 70 out, two by two, find a personal
Right.
peace. If they receive your peace, there remain. And so that's really what this podcast is about. It's what the new book is going to be about. Why should I refer you? Is the book.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
my tagline is the most important word is the last word, you,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because at the core of this system is that human beings are unbelievably precious and unique,
Mhm.
right? And like you're worthy of being referred if you're human. But now we got to get other people involved, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where it gets. So, anyways, how are you doing?
Doing well. No, I appreciated the transparency. I shouldn't be surprised. You're very transparent. But I appreciated the transparency on the face. It's interesting. Well, actually, I'll share with you. It was really good. So, um, this was last night when our call with my kids. So, three of my four were on the call, and anyways, but this is a Seth Holbrook, and so my son played football with this kid. He's 2 years. One of my sons played football with him. He says my heart is full. 367 days ago, I tore my ACL.
Mm,
Tonight, I tore it again.
mm.
So do not mistake the red eyes and tear-streaked faces for sadness over the last year. There's been plenty of pain and disappointment. At times felt like wave after wave of physical emotional hurt. I'm skipping over the little things. It's not for the hurt. The joy of sharing the feel with my friends and teammates might be diminished. Not for the struggle. I might not see and love my family as they do now. Not for the pain. I might not know. And this must be his girlfriend. I can see Christ working through the storm. I know that nothing happens outside of his control and that he will use all things for my ultimate good. So thankful that he's chosen to work in broken places and through broken people. Even now, I see Christ clearer than yesterday. I rejoice knowing that he will continue to use my broken body to mold me into the image of Jesus. My heart has never been fuller. God has never been more gracious and more merciful to me than he is right now. So I'll continue to go the journey of joy and the rest of hope in him. I'm looking for me 10,000 years from now. I'll be standing in the presence of my Savior, praising him for the way he used this period of time in my life for glory and good.
Not a bad call.
And so why I bring this up is it's been good. I am a by by my build, how I was made, as I'm a doer, achiever first over people. That's why how I operate. But I recognize the importance of I love my wife, love my kids, love but I'll recognize if there's a doubt of often I'll take a path to do rather than to be, right?
Mm.
you know and so I've been reflecting on this a lot. I mean I do a pretty good job of daily Bible reading, um you know pretty good job of praying daily, but sometimes you we miss I miss is it all he's asking is to be like him, to be in him, to be with him, right? It's to be in his presence. Because we can't do anything that will overcome the grace, right?
Right.
It's just the grace that's been given. And so I'm just sharing this in my own self-reflection. It's for whatever reason, it's been hitting me more because when I had the hernia surgeries, the part of this that I want to get back to the hernia that I mentioned. While everyone was saying we're 9.8, 9.7, everyone was like saying out of 10. I was like, of course, in my head, I'm like, you guys are a bunch of liars. But outside, but maybe they were, and maybe they were wonderful. But what bothered me
Out of
is
20.
exactly. But what bothered me last night was when this was happening, I was not like this kid Seth Holbrook,
Oh yeah.
and so here this 20-year-old kid last night just put this I'm embarrassed now looking back at what I just went through the last 3 months because here I had an opportunity to be more, and I did not. I complained more. I struggled more. I did not do the things that I could have. And anyways, it's just a little self reflection on my own journey. And here, by the way, I did not grow up a believer, but at college I became a believer. And so yeah, it's this journey is the good news about reading the Bible is this everyone, every single one, except for Jesus, well, of course, because he's God.
Oh yeah. I mean, I take great comfort from the fact that everyone else complained. You're like, I've resigned. I'm not Elijah. I'm not taking the fast train, right? Like I'm not going to be gathered home like that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm here, right? And so like I would just encourage you is and it's not, I don't come at this from cynicism, but I like when I hear stuff like that, I I just think it's beautiful. Right? I don't know his heart. I don't know him. I don't know what's really going on. And I've seen too many men, let alone women, that that God works through and they say beautiful, wonderful things that make a difference in my life, only to discover that they were just as struggling as much as I was in a different way. And so I'm not diminishing him at all. In fact, I think I'm actually like appreciating what it really is. It's just this beautiful, wonderful act of worship to share that, right?
Mhm.
And I wish him nothing but more of that, right? It's like people ask me, they always try and understand what it's like being the dad that I am with the son with the massive challenges, and I always tell them, I'm like, you don't really want to know. Like I said, you just don't want to know because it's not helpful for you. And it's also
Mhm.
not necessarily helpful for me to describe how tough it is. I said, what you
Mhm.
do need to know is how it changed me, right?
Mhm.
It didn't remove sin from my life. It did
Mhm.
not. It did not make me a better person, but it gave me an opportunity to grow and be used in spite of myself,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And people will come to me like, man, I'm so inspired by how you share about your son. I'm like, really? Like, okay. I mean, like, initially, I'm like, why? Like, I'm just talking
Mhm.
about how awful it is. They're like, oh, it's so inspirational. I'm like, and like, and then I used to get offended, Carl, because they'd be like, well, what inspired me is you didn't leave. I'm like, was that an option?
Mm.
So like, why am I getting adulation for doing the absolute minimum standard? Like, don't abandon your family. Woo, that's admirable, right? But I've gotten past that. And now it's like, okay, fundamentally, one of the reasons God has taken me, I, I believe this and I know it. The reason he's taken me is I've had a couple of clients say to me, Mike, one of the most important things about working with you as a coach, right? The least profitable thing I do, by the way. But one of the most important things is I know that there's nothing I can bring to you that you can't handle.
Mm.
And I went, well, like, don't, it's not a challenge. Like, It's not a contest.
Yeah. What else do you have for me, God?
Like it's like you're doing well, you're blessed, this is good. So anyways, this is really what the podcast is about, like when you get down to
Awesome.
it, Carl. Did I send you the questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
Well, maybe you did, but
Yeah,
I just listened to the recording part. So
yeah, it's good.
no, I've done a couple of these, so we'll be okay.
Good. Yeah, the basic concept is exploring the intersection between being thoughtful enough and professional enough to anticipate needing to answer this question. Why should I refer you?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
also understanding the intrinsic opportunity that is offered to you doing business this way, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And what scares some of my clients is they're like, this is a freaking love story. I'm like, yep.
Ah.
I'm like, yeah, that's just what it is, right? It really
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
because like one of my favorite books is Raving Fans.
Mhm.
And when you look at Raving Fans is a story about outrageous love of clients,
That's right.
right? I remember I listened the first time I read it, but the first time I listened to the tapes because there are no, I think they have CDs now, but it's still not on Audible. I'm so angry about that. It's
Oh,
still,
that's interesting.
it's not on Audible. I like Blanchard, come on, man. Anyways, but I
Huh.
wept. I wept when I heard it
Mm.
because I started thinking about this is what made B&I special. So, all right. So I am about to do the brief kind of intro, which is basically letting my marketing guy know that he's got like the voice for radio. It's unbelievable.
That's nice.
Yeah. So then I'm going to transition into asking you to introduce yourself and then we're going to just jump in. All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, John, this is the part where you do an introduction that makes me sound super professional and awesome. I look forward to it. Welcome, Carl, to the Why Should I Refer You podcast. I almost said, Can I borrow your car? That works too. But I think Why Should I Refer You is actually more important because that's the question that often is asked unconsciously by people in our lives and answered unconsciously by us. And people are worth too much more than that to take it for granted. So, Carl, I met you recently. You once again proved to me why I am naturally inclined to P&E and M&A people. You guys just make sense to me. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, Mike. Hey, first of all, I'm so ecstatic to be on this. It's been fun, our multiple conversations that we've had since being in Charleston together. What a great town that is. I love Charleston. And yeah, so my name, once again, Carl Cox, CEO of 40 Strategy, also the CEO of 40 Accounting. And so what do? I help small to mid-size business owners help take their company to the next level. And I do that in two ways. I do it pre-equity. So I help work with clients of like helping them to understand that well, this is the sad part. 57% of business owners are their business value is discounted and 90% of their ownership is tied up in their business.
Yeah, that's a
And
bad combo.
it's a bad combo. And what we do is we help unlock that risk combined with improving the EBITDA to increase the valuation before the private equity firms take advantage of you. Okay. And so that's one half of my life. And the other half of my life is I work with those private equity firms. Okay. So
Why
they
not be on both sides of the fence?
I do. I play on both sides, and I really enjoy it because their perspective is so much different than the business owner's perspective because it's a different game. And what the biggest challenge is understanding the new game. It's a financing game versus a loving relationship of your business and your baby that you birthed, right?
Totally.
And so the finance game is a different game and it's very uncomfortable for most business owners. And so I help private equity firms turn those companies around to help them get through to create the financing equity they were expecting when they first got into the opportunity. So I work both sides, and so as a result, I can hear, understand, empathize, have sympathy, whatever you want to call it. And I've been fortunate enough, been in 7 different companies myself that have gone from 2x to 7x in size. So I've done it several times. It's fun. I have experiences in, as I started out as a bean counter, a CPA. I've been a
So,
CFO. I've
so
been
not
a
a
business
CPA.
owner.
You're
What's
so
that?
you're so not a CPA.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And I don't even, it's funny. I don't even have it listed on LinkedIn that I'm a CPA because just because of that thing. I don't want people to think, but we do it. We do bookkeeping, taxes, etc. But, um, but yeah, that's who I am. The more important side of who I am is my home side. I married my high school sweetheart, um, and we have 4 wonderful children that are all become adults. We just became the empty nesters this past summer, which has been
Release the arrows.
it's hard, but been good. And now we get a chance to see. We've been very fortunate. 3 of the 4 of them have played college sports, and so we get to observe and be in contact and travel with them. But at the end of the day, my that's the 2 halves. It's being with family, and then of course, there's the other important stuff of your own faith, and getting that figured out and trying to help people out. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna just jump to the important story, Mike, just because I love the gaming business. And matter of fact, one of my favorite experiences when I was working with a PE firm or trying to hire a new operator, which is code word for those who aren't familiar. That's the new CEO. Okay, they call them operators in the PE world, right? Okay,
Yep.
like they're like a operator in SEAL teams. They're not that, okay,
Yeah.
but they're the operators in terms of
So
working in a
sometimes they
business.
do kill people.
Figuratively, yeah. I mean, it's like transformation for sure. And yeah, they do slash and kill a lot, so to speak. But but I was working with this P operator, and he said, Carl, and he was bragging. It was kind of a little obnoxious, honestly. He was like, I got this and this. I got this homes, and I got the jet airplane. Da, 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 da. But he said, Carl, if I spend one more minute by a luxury pool, I'm going to drown myself in it.
Mm, wow.
Okay. Okay. So that's issue one. So my point is this: for those who are trying to get the Rolex watch and the money that you never have to work again, don't fool yourself that you've got it figured out. Because I've talked to people who never have to make a money again, and their children's children's never have to work again. And they're like, I need to get back in the game because I need to have purpose. So that's number one. That's like the deep personal side of things that people don't figure out. You got to fulfill your purpose after you've sold your company, right? You got to figure out who you are, your purpose, right?
Yes. Period.
Okay. So then there's the end game, the big end game. And the story here is I remember I was a 34-year-old CFO in a company that was growing 3.5x. And maybe it's 35 at this time. And the CEO, uh, sorry, the VP of sales passed away due to melanoma cancer.
Mm,
And we got to be along his struggle, and he did everything he could to survive, but it was a relatively quick event. And so I went to his funeral, and here I expected to see everyone talk about all the accomplishments and all his different companies that he'd been with. And I was kind of eager, excited as a business person to hear of the accolades of all the different companies and things he's built up over the period of time. But what did they talk about? None of that. All they talked about, it was interesting. There was literally people, employees from every single one of the companies he was with throughout his career, but not one person talked about the impact on the company or the money that they made. All they talked about was the impact that Larry Stark had made in their life. So why I bring all this up is I love the tricks and the games that we play to create value in organizations. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the relationships that we have with people, which goes right in line with what you do in the referral business.
yeah, man. It's a beautiful story. And it is the story because you've heard me say it, but referrals aren't for everyone. They can be.
Oh,
They can be, but they're not for everyone. And it's like fundamentally, I think so. Surprise referrals, I hope, happen for everyone. I hope that when you do a good job and you stick around, that you're blessed that these spontaneous, I call them spontaneous eruptions of marketing by referral happen, and you get a nice Sally Field. Oh, you like me. You really like me, right? You won the Oscar, right? The challenge is at the next level, which is really what the book's about, and it's really what this podcast is about, is are you prepared? I always think of that film, the film about Al Capone with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner about what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do? Not Goodfellas, but I can't remember. Anyways, like the concept being is like to be strategic about referrals is very much like deciding to really be a business owner because you're taking on a different mantle of responsibility because there's other people involved. When you live in the spontaneous where people find an opportunity, it's a unicorn, it happens, there's a lot less risk involved in that transaction. Generally, the prospect wants to talk to you. The prospect is in the market for what you do, and you have to be a real rascal to mess it up. On the other side, the proactive, predictable side, you're interacting with other people and other people's relationships, and you are being a caretaker for good or for bad. And that's really what I want to start. So you've done a lot of different things and you've been involved in a lot of different conversations. And I know referrals have been a part of it. What's one of that was obviously one of the good ones with Mr. Stark. That was a good thing,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a person that was a giver,
That's
right?
right. Yep.
And he's someone that I bet got a lot of introductions, not because of his sales acumen, but it was because of who he was. And at the
That's
core of
right.
this is what I
Mhm.
want the audience to get. At the core of this entire process is your referral partners, if you really want to do this, are going to be asking that question, why should I refer you?
Mhm.
And if they have to answer that inside of themselves, some of them will because we're hardwired for this community thing. So like you only do things wrong if you're bad. But but you're missing a whole bunch of it because when you answer the question for them, they are then able to share that story, which by the way, story is the universal language. It's the universal learning language, right? Right? You can say auditory, visual, kinesthetic, whatever. Story is it, right?
Right.
But like, what is a really good referral experience that you've had, and why do you remember it?
Oh,
I
40
know there's more
strategy
than
was
one. I know there's more than
no, yeah, yeah, no. I'll just start with the beginnings. 40 strategy was built on referral. So I would not be sitting here talking to you today if I did not get referral business. And so it started literally from the beginning of um, left a previous company and literally people were like, I want to still work with you.
ha.
So I had two people from the previous company said, then the third one said, I've been lurking and watching you for the past 3 months and I want to start working with you. I was like, fantastic. Let's get going. So talk about because it's a scary thing. My wife, what I didn't share with you, Mike, is when I opened 40 Strategy, and this is not a really happy conversation between the missus and I, but it was one of the worst fights we ever had when I opened up this business because
Mm,
I left a very lucrative,
security.
secure job. It was a hard job, but it was a lucrative, secure job. And she's like, what, why would you leave that for?
So when our wives meet, and this will happen, we need to remember this conversation and not let it occur then.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Good news is my wife's tired of listening, so she doesn't listen to my podcast. So I usually can get away with this
Same,
conversation.
same deal.
So, but literally, she was like Missouri show me state gal. She was like, show me the money at the end of the day, because like how you prove this. And so with the coolest thing is within 2, 3 months, this is not your typical story, but within 2, 3 months, third month, I had highest checks I ever took home in my career because I knew I was making a difference. I knew I had developed the skills over my career, but she was not convinced of that yet, right? Because she had seen other people in her family and other people doing things, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that again."
Yeah,
So
wounds.
yeah, so I built up, but how did that business come from? Well, one was doing previous good work in the past. Well, the second way it happened was, one of the best relationships I had came through a, get this, served on a board, volunteer for 9 years. Okay. Didn't get a
Right.
penny out of it. Okay. Literally just give, 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 give. After I opened up 40 Strategy, they introduced me to a private equity firm. That private equity firm was willing to take a risk in me because nobody wanted to go to Eugene, Oregon in the middle of COVID. I went
Right.
down to Eugene, Oregon, went down to a client. You could take a look at him, precision manufacturing, Don Lindsay. Hey, Don, if you happy to listen to this, thank you for what you did to help change that company. But, we, through that experience, we had a great results. And so they kept on giving me other opportunities to refer. And then through that, it got me to another private equity firm. And then it got me to another private equity firm. And then there's the other side behind it. And so, but this is the thing that, Mike, I will warn on, because I don't want to make it sound like everything has been rosy and perfect through this journey.
Well, there is an enemy and he gets a vote.
Yeah, well, the challenge is when it almost was too easy for me up front.
Mm.
I'm saying this it was almost too easy. And so because of that, I didn't create a process.
Oh no.
Okay. And so interestingly enough, as I've reflected, because I can, folks, if you go back and you categorize all your sales in the past, especially if you're a relationship based type business thing, okay, you're going to find that if you track it, there's going to be like 5 to 10 people that have brought you all of your business,
Yes. Period.
you know? And the problem is when you stop nursing those relationships, you lose. You get too big. They think you're too busy and they stop referring your business. That what happened to me. I was quote unquote conquering the world and traveling around the US and, turning around all these companies, da, 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 da. But I was not nurturing these relationships because I hadn't created a process because it came too easy.
Yep. That is one of the
And
big leaders.
yeah, so that's honestly one of the things I'm doing now again is recommitting to these relationships and not just do, but be with these really wonderful people that I want to help give to them, right? Because I have things to help give to them, but then there's maybe ways I can help them out as well. And so it's been that's why I loved actually listening to your presentation when we were in Charleston together. And I've really done some good self-reflection, even just recently,
Mhm.
of and what like literally it's almost like timing of it, like the amount of referrals they've just got in the past. Like it's almost like
I
it's
take
it's
all the
almost
credit.
yeah. Thanks, Mike. But I mean, now I'll say this though sometimes too. Sometimes it's a season of we. Okay, so I'm going to throw something out. Sometimes in as an entrepreneur or a business owner or whatever you do, not everybody needs what you're selling, right?
So true.
Okay. And so interestingly enough, one of the reasons even though I was doing it, we were doing concurrently, I opened up 40 accounting separately was because people were always asking me, I can't find my CPA, and never answers the phone. Can you do my bookkeeping? Can you do my financial reporting? Can you help be my kind of interim CFO guy? And I was like, yeah, of course, and so I was just doing that work just alongside. Well, I wasn't mentioning I was doing it. Well, now that I've turned the thing and say I'm doing it, and yes, I'm still an active CPA, or I should say, actually, I am an active CPA. Um, that's a starving crowd, right? So I'm going to go to the story that I didn't say there. The story is if you're trying to attract new business, where should you go? Like if you're, I'm going to open up my new business shop and I'm going to open it and say, where should you open up your location of your new business? And some people say, well, you should open on the busiest street corner. That's what some people say if you have a restaurant, right? Busiest street corner, have a restaurant there. Somebody also say, oh no, put it by the McDonald's, right? Because the McDonald's
Right, right.
is like they do all their research, take advantage of that. And we won't go into politics behind that right now, but that's kind of funny if you think about it. But then on the third side behind it is um, the really best place to open your restaurant is in front of a starving crowd.
That can
Okay.
afford your stuff.
That's right. That's right. And so understanding who and what and where and what you're providing and who's ready to listen. Because what I've really interesting found is when I talk to somebody about one thing now, I can also now share a cross sell of my other stuff.
It's so huge. And like, so man, there's just a lot. That's great. A couple of things just technically on the referral side.
Yes, please.
It's just to rephrase it for the audience, because I want to make sure they got what you shared. Like, strategy is not apart from referrals. Strategy is even more essential. And this is what people miss is they get excited by the emotional part of the referral process, right? Oh, they believe in me, which by the way is, man, it's awesome. Like, of course you're excited about it. And of course, but you need to be able to unpack how did this happen, right? And you need to be able to start isolating. And if you're in the audience and you're listening, go back. This is why I always talk to my clients, tell me about great referrals and tell me about bad referrals. And let's try and gather retroactively. So it's anecdotal, but anecdotes have power too, clearly. Let's gather the data because, like, so I'll just give you an example. I was working with a pretty nice team of wealth advisors in Cincinnati. And whenever I start working with a team, I'm looking for one thing that has massive traction. I'm looking for one thing that we can discover that they already have. So it's a person of peace. I'm looking for a Luke 10, looking for a rabbi, right? I'm looking for someone that these multimillionaires have already got and is underutilized. Like we talk about arbitrage and leverage because it's what we do. It's who we are, right? Where is it, right? If you don't PE yourself, somebody else will PE on you, right? So that's Vern Harnish. Man, that dude's a good speaker. He's a good speaker.
Yes.
But
He
like,
is.
but that's the thing in referrals is you have to look at it kind of like a private equity person, like what opportunity is there? And so, for example, we discovered that they had this really incredible relationship with a young woman who's an AI savant. She's young, attractive, dynamic speaker, and is uniquely gifted at speaking to business owners about something terrifying and making it applicable and executable. And I had the biggest smile on my face. And I said, hey, we're done. My consulting fee is just paid for. It's non-refundable at this point. And they laughed. Like, why? I go, gentlemen, your body language, your energy when you started talking about her and how much you respect her and how you can't wait to introduce her to clients, she is the rabbi that you are going to introduce to other business owners that will make prospecting less dangerous for you psychologically and more exciting and affirming because you're not just doing it to make money directly for you. You're not coming, you're giving to them. And you should have seen their faces. I'm sure you've seen those faces with clients of yours
Mm-hmm.
when you're in there after a transaction, helping to get things rolling again to hit that number. It's the same kind of concept, but people don't understand that that is completely dependent upon understanding sales and strategy, right? Because otherwise, you don't know how to answer the questions. And when you don't know how to answer the questions, you're taking something that is amazing and you're throttling it like a golf cart, right? You're taking a Maserati, a Lamborghini, and you're putting a governor on it, and it won't go past 15 miles an hour. Um, what do you think about that?
I I like the example you had of the speaker side behind that, of just, once again is when you can create once again of excitement, right? An opportunity. You can combine the two, and then which compels people to act. But there's something else you said, which you really just said kind of under the surface, that is I would say is the hardest thing. And it's a big part of what you do, Mike. It's a big part of what I do in different things, not directly in the referral side, but it's our own DNA of rejection. So
Yes.
I've got my book, Lost a CEO, and right here, I've got, please remove me from my mailing list.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Okay. Now it's really funny. Somehow this human being has, I don't know how, but three times has I don't honestly know how it even happened. Like, he must be trying to get on to like get rejected. Like, it's the weirdest thing. But regardless of that, so he could reject me. But all that being said, is that is the hardest thing, is that in the coldish leads, in the coldish referrals, right? What I mean by, right, is there isn't deeper relationships, right? Somebody you don't know, they don't know, the trust is a big gap. That's why
Yes.
referrals are so helpful, so you can help bridge that gap faster. And just the sensitivity of the concepts you bring up in Can I Borrow Your Car, which is that the psychological safety of concerning of ruining an existing relationship, and then the other part of just your own ego of
Oh, yeah.
failure, right? And it's hard. I mean, these are the things, the hardest things, is that even when you have a process. But it was not too long ago, I ran across some successful coach thing. I think it was on Instagram, something like that. And I loved it. He said, if I didn't worry about, if I would have worried about losing 94% of the time, I would never have an 8-figure business.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Right?
mean, totally. That has direct relevance to referrals.
Yes.
Direct.
Absolutely.
And here's a couple of things. I was talking to a I had a great referral today. Great referral. A guy down in Florida, really successful advisor, over 1 million take home, super successful. He was referred to me. And so we just had a fun time talking about stuff. And we got into real important stuff. And then we kind of expanded back out to the regular world. And he goes, well, I'm really interested in the referral stuff that you do. He goes, like, we get a lot of referrals, but we don't know when they're coming. And he goes,
Mm.
and like, but we're afraid. And he said, we're afraid, we
Yes.
don't know what to do. And I said,
Right.
well, like, how about if I just fix that for you right now on this free phone call? And he's
Mm.
like, I go, no, I was serious. Like, give me 5 minutes, we'll fix it. And I took him through macro, micro strategies. And he's like, damn. I go, now, here's the trick. Like, so now you intellectually have got the construct. I said, now here's the two rules that you have to apply to have any chance of success. Number one, you're excited about this concept of having a system, but it's not a system yet. I said, so you have to buy the book. It's $20. Buy the book and you'll get the system. I said, but you have to understand there's two rules that make this work and you cannot escape them. The first rule is you have to develop the system enough that you believe that if you do it, it will work according to
Mhm.
what your dreams are. Right?
Mm.
I said, my friend, he's a multimillionaire, 20, 30 million, right? I said, my friend, it's no longer about money. Money's how we keep score, but that doesn't intrinsically motivate you. Am I wrong? He goes, no, not at all. He goes, I said, that's important. I said, but here's the other one. That system has to be something that you are excited about doing. And my hack that I didn't find until 2 years ago when I wrote that book,
Mhm.
hack is we're just going to have an explicit giving system because those dudes in Cincinnati were excited about introducing her. And all of a sudden, the call reluctance, which is real, right? And they may or may not work with me going forward because that's what I do. You and I get paid not conceptually, we get paid on helping clients execute on these
That's right.
strategies, right?
That's
But
right.
that's the deal. Like if you're listening to the audience, understand that what Carl and I are basically talking about is you have to connect your heart to the business. There has to be a purpose that drives it. And when it comes to business development, we it's very rare that somebody is intrinsically or extrinsically motivated to grow, sell. Once you make your first million, once you get to a position of success, your risk tolerance completely changes and you're not able to force yourself to do things you did when you were starving. You have to find a different way to do it. And the way to do it is to find a way to get excited. And when I work with millionaires, the people that are relationship oriented, I always trick them into doing prospecting by having them do it for other people.
Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And they're like, this is amazing. I'm having so much fun. I'm like, you are hard, cold sales prospecting, bro. They're like, no, I'm helping people. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Just keep, and they're 3Xing their conversations. So real quick, I just got a couple of questions I want to run by you just because of what you've done. I know that people are asking you for referrals.
Oh yeah.
No question. And I know
Mhm.
half of them aren't even directly asking. They're trying to create some kind of convoluted conversation where you spontaneously decide that you're going to do their job and help them, right? So let's not talk about that. By the
Sure.
way, if you're listening, do your job. Like if you want a referral from me, know who it is you want me to introduce you to. I'll tell you if I know them instantly, and then I'll tell you if I want to introduce you or not. And we'll both save a lot of time. What are some of the things that people have done that are coming into relationship with you that from your perspective, which is cool, like I think it's really bitching people. Like, but from your perspective, what are some of the things that you have found make you want to refer more or be willing to refer first?
Yeah. It comes down to this is, when I see one of the really cool things I get is because I'm usually involved at the whatever you want to call it, the strategic planning level. And with that, people confuse that, but I'm really referring to the plan of the company and all the major things they're doing to move the dial. I'm not talking about your day-to-day stuff, but I'm talking about what big things you're doing to help grow your company. And that piece, right? That piece beside it, I run into, I start as an auditor. I see problems, right? I see problems. It's literally it's one of my horrible gifts. I see a lot of crap and it doesn't bother me. It's just, I see it. And the reality is I can't solve all those problems. So I find it my duty when I see a problem that I can't solve. This is why I have partners and referral partners I connect with, is I need to connect them with that trusted referral partner because I have a duty to make sure that my client's being taken care of. And when you live in this is a big world with lots of opportunity as opposed to a scarcity view of it's only mine,
Right.
right? Then you could be more generous. And then what you find is it is a big world and the generosity can return and come back. If it does or doesn't, but it will in some way, shape, or form. Like perhaps that referral won't be, the person you're helping with, but that person two or three down. Like I got a call today from somebody I had no connection with, found out they had a copy of my book they were reading. I was like, I had no idea, right? And they were like referred to, and they said, "Well, I thought you're part of 40X because you talked to Jim Hewling and da 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 da." You don't always know where the seeds are planted, but what is important is that you respect the process with everybody that you're connecting and meeting with as best you can.
Yes.
And recognize that we all have our gifts. We served people in different ways. So I guess that's the core of it. Mike is answering. I believe we have a duty to help our clients and to not hold them back. And when we can't do it ourselves, even if it's in our core business, that's not right, right? If somebody else could do better, it's your duty to make sure that they're getting the best. And
Absolutely.
that's when I think is the difference. But once again, is when referrals work better is when you're not afraid to give. And the good news is right when you give, it's just like why we like to give a portion of our revenues to client, out to charity is because we do it because we believe it's the right thing to do, but it's amazing the reciprocation comes back and you end up getting business from people you never dreamed of.
So that dude, it's so cool. Like it is so cool. I agree with everything you said. What's really cool is I just shared on LinkedIn, reposted a clip from a podcast I was on with my friends Larry Levine and Dale Amy, the Selling from the Heart podcast. Those are servants, those guys. Like actually I've known Larry for almost 9 years and we've never met. And yet every time we talk to each other, we tell each other we love each other. Right. It's like so you can do it digitally. But he's special. But one of the clips is what people don't understand, and this is I want to run this by you. I think I've talked about it. People are like, what really makes a strategic, scalable referral system work? And I said, well, the only limitation is your commitment to personal development.
Mm.
I said,
Hmm.
because this referrals, like, and it's not a positive. This is not a pro of referral systems because you will be exposed if you're trying to do this to scale your organization. You'll be exposed as to who you are. And so you need to know who you are and you need to be comfortable with your weaknesses and your strengths. But secondly, this game, the referral game, is dependent upon your commitment to personal development, your commitment to challenge yourself, to be introspective, to look out and to grow. And without a doubt, the best referral sources that I've ever met are avid readers. They're
Mm.
avid learners. And and
Yeah,
and I'm going to make it real simple for the audience. Like, if you want to get lots of referrals from me, lots to really successful people, you have to be interesting to my client that's a multimillionaire when they're not in the market for what you do.
that's right.
And
Yep.
so, like earlier on, you were talking about this transactional concept. Like, if you're only interesting and valuable when the client's ready to buy, that doesn't mean I'm not going to refer to you.
Correct.
Like, so
That is correct.
you're not dead to me. But
That's right.
the problem is if you're in a, and this comes back to the thing you're talking about where there's traction and high value and the crowd. Like when I interact with someone, like, and you're becoming that person who understands the value of more socially type introductions to a target market at the very top of the funnel before the buying process starts. I hate to say it, but like if you're somebody like Carl that's only communicating to me about you wanting to meet people when they're ready to buy, I might have already had Carl in there. Like
That's
and
right.
right. And so that's what I
That's right.
tell people is, but that personal development, that that ability, like the fact you wrote a book makes it easier for me to refer you because now I can mitigate risk with these people. Like, why should I refer you? Well, I wrote a book to make it easy for you to let people figure out if they like what I talk about before they have to waste time with me. Oh, how much is your book, Carl? $20? I mean, I bought it. I can't remember what I paid for it. Doesn't matter. I mean, I just bought it. I heard you talk about the oil well, and I was like, damn.
And, hey, that was super cool, by the way. You wrote an article about it right after that. That was, thank you. That was really special that you had done that.
I had to. Do you have a little bit more time?
I've got like 2 minutes
Two
before I
minutes.
got to pop in it. So let's
So,
let's go.
so real quick, we're like, so thanks for being here, folks. You need to connect with Carl, and if you're a business owner, you need to ask him about the oil well versus selling a business, because that was the most useful way that I've ever heard to talk to business owners about whether they should really be looking to sell or not. It was, and I've said that to a lot of business owners. It's amazing, Carl. So, brother, in every sense of the word, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been amazing. Where can people find you?
Hey, Mike, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be a guest. I look forward to our continued relationship. So that's number one. Number two, just Google me, Carl J. Cox, not Carl Cox. Otherwise, you're going to come up with the DJ. Okay, but Carl J. Cox or 40strategy.com. Tons of information, books, podcasts, etc. And just reach out. And I'll even share my email, Carl J. Cox at 40strategy.com.
And the book's Lost at CEO. It's
That's
freaking
right.
Anyways, thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, take care.
Yeah, man.